It was a blistering Sunday morning in Oak Ridge Estates, the kind where the sun seemed to personally grudge every blade of grass. Sheriff Tom Carver stood at the edge of Willow Lane, his badge glinting like a challenge, a foil-wrapped loaf of his mother's pecan bread tucked under one arm. He was on a simple mission: deliver the bread to Deputy Jake Ramsey before it lost its oven-warm charm. His sidearm, holstered and legal, rested against his HOA routine site for a county sheriff. But in Oak Ridge, routine was a foreign concept when Linda Hargrove was on patrol. Linda, armed with a megaphone and a clipboard that might as well have been welded to her hand, was the self-appointed guardian of Oak Ridge's HOA bylaws. She rolled up in a golf cart that looked like it had seen one too many neighborhood skirmishes, her eyes locking onto Carver's pistol like a hawk spotting prey. "Citizens arrest!" she bellowed, her voice slicing through the suburban quiet, startling a flock of sparrows and a few hungover neighbors clutching coffee mugs. "Hands up, now!" Carver froze, more amused than alarmed, as a crowd gathered pajama-clad residents clutching HOA flyers like talismans. Linda's tactical unit assembled behind her, a motley crew of retirees in homemade armbands, a guy wielding a pool noodle like a katana, and an 80-year-old widow named Mrs. Baxter, who piloted her golf cart like a chariot of vengeance. The absurdity was almost poetic. Here was Carver, elected sheriff of the entire county, facing a suburban lynch mob over a loaf of bread. 2 hours earlier, everything had been calm. Carver had set out across the park, the pecan bread still warm, figuring he'd earn a few neighborly waves. Instead, Linda intercepted him like a missile, her stride sharp enough to carve asphalt. "Excuse me, sir," she snapped, planting herself in his path. "You're violating HOA Regulation 14C2, subsection G. No open carry of firearms in common areas without express permission from the Security Council." Carver offered a disarming smile. "Morning, Linda. Sheriff Tom Carver, County Sheriff's Office. Just passing through." He tapped his badge, the sunlight catching it like a flare. Linda blinked, momentarily thrown, then doubled down with a ferocity that could have rattled a drill sergeant. "Badge or no badge, you're subject to Oak Ridge bylaws," she declared, reciting the rule like scripture. Before Carver could respond, she grabbed her walkie-talkie and barked. "Code Red! Armed intruder in the park zone! All units, mobilize!" The response was immediate and surreal. 4 residents emerged from behind hedges and mailboxes, one sporting a vest made of duct-taped camping mats, another brandishing a garden trowel. Mrs. Baxter's golf cart screeched to a halt inches from Carver's knees, Linda clambering atop it like a general at Gettysburg. "Drop your weapon and surrender!" she shouted through the megaphone, the feedback screeching like a wounded animal. Carver couldn't help but laugh. He tried to mask it as a cough, but the damage was done. Linda's eyes narrowed to slits. "Non-compliance will be noted," she hissed, flipping her clipboard with a flourish. The HOA enforcers closed in, forming a semicircle that was equal parts comical and unnerving. Carver considered explaining that county law trumped HOA rules, that he could arrest them for obstruction if he felt like it. But one look at Linda's sweaty, righteous, conviewine said she was SAVYing Oak Ridge from anarchy told him logic was a lost cause. Slowly, he unclipped the lockbox from his belt and set it on the sidewalk. Linda's eyes gleamed like she'd just won the lottery. "What's in there?" she demanded. "Contraband? Unregistered weapons? Forged HOA permits?" Carver raised an eyebrow. "Pecan bread," he said flatly. Silence fell, broken only by a distant dog's bark. Linda scoffed. "That's what they all say." She motioned 2 lackeys forward, a nervous retiree and his teenage grandson. "Secure the box." Just then, a sleek silver SUV pulled up. Mayor Evelyn Harper stepped out, heels clicking, sunglasses perched like a crown. She surveyed the scene. Linda's golf cart militia, the lockbox treated like a bomb, Carver surrounded and sighed. "Tom, are you being arrested by the HOA again?" she called. Carver shrugged. "Apparently, I'm a public menace with baked goods." Linda rushed to Harper, practically VY bratting. Mayor, as HOA chief enforcer, I'm detaining an armed trespasser on private property. Evelyn glanced at the lockbox, then at Linda. You're arresting the sheriff over bread? She deadpanned. Linda stood firm. The HOA has jurisdiction in common areas. Evelyn nodded, her sarcasm thicker than the summer air. Sure, Linda. You've got all the power that fits on that clipboard. Undeterred, Linda resumed her crusade, barking orders as Carver and Jake, who just arrived panting, exchanged incredulous looks. Jake, spotting Linda pointing at him, stammered. Detain the sheriff? That's not how it works, ma'am. Linda's glare could have melted steel. Do you think or do you know? She snapped. Carver sighed, pulling out his ID badge and department card. Linda, I'm Sheriff Tom Carver, duly elected. You can't arrest me for walking through my own neighborhood with a legal sidearm and pecan bread. For a fleeting moment, Linda seemed to waver. Then she scribbled furiously on her clipboard. Fine. But you're getting a citation for failing to display HOA VY cider credentials. Expect a fine in 10 days. By Monday, Linda's defeat had morphed into a full-blown conspiracy. On the Oak Ridge HOA Facebook group, she posted blurry photos of Carver, claiming he was an imposter sent to destabilize their suburban utopia. Jake showed Carver the post, snorting. You're a deep state operative now, boss. Carver groaned, sensing a migraine. By noon, Linda had called an emergency HOA meeting. Security crisis, exposing imposters. Flyers blanketed mailboxes, attendance mandatory. Carver attended out of curiosity, Jake tagging along for the spectacle. The clubhouse was a circus chairs arranged like a courtroom, Linda at a podium made of stacked tables, wearing a blazer and a self-awarded Chief of Security badge. She launched into a tirade about wolves in sheriff's clothing, presenting a blurry photo of Carver with his lockbox as EVY Denke of a suspicious package. A grainy VY deo of him while VYing to a neighbor was labeled aggressive intimidation. The crowd, to Carver's dismay, nodded along, fear spreading like wildfire. Mayor Harper slipped in, sipping iced coffee, clearly relishing the chaos. Linda, spotting her, demanded a special tribunal to investigate Carver. Evelyn, barely hiding her amusement, agreed, stipulating it be public and recorded. The vote passed easily, fear trumping reason. Carver was now under investigation by the Oak Ridge Security Tribunal, chaired by Linda, who treated it like a war crimes trial. Tuesday brought new absurdity. An anonymous tip, clearly Linda's, accidentally CC'd to half the neighborhood, reported suspicious active white tie by a ruggedly handsome official. That night, Carver caught Linda in camouflage, belly crawling across his backyard with a crew armed with flashlights and a fishing net. They targeted his shed's lockbox, Linda attempting to pick the lock with a bobby pin before resorting to bolt cutters. Carver flipped on the porch light, freezing her mid-crime. Evening, Linda. Late night stroll? She stood, brushing off dirt. We're investigating contraband, she declared. Jake, recording, snorted. You CC'd the neighborhood, Linda. Undeterred, she claimed. Emergency HOA protocols. A clang interrupted. HOA President Mr. Thornton had dropped a duffel bag while fleeing. Inside, Carver found cash and forged invoices for non-existent repairs. Linda's jaw dropped. Her witch hunt had stumbled onto real crime. Thornton bolted, but Linda, whistle blaring, led her golf cart posse in a chaotic chase, toppling lawn gnomes and chairs. Carver and Jake cut Thornton off, cuffing him as Linda pulled up, triumphant. Justice! She crowed. Back at the station, Carver marveled at Linda's accidental heroics. She'd exposed Thornton's embezzlement, while chasing bread conspiracies. Thursday's public forum was Linda's last stand. The community center brimmed with gawkers as Linda, now Chief Justice, banged a gavel, accusing Carver of open carry violations and uninspected packages. He pleaded, "Very not guilty," setting the stage for the lockbox reveal. With the crowd hushed, Carver opened it, revealing pecan bread, coffee, and paperwork. Linda rifled through, poking the bread as if it might detonate. Evelyn nibbled a piece. Tastes like pecans. No felony here. Laughter erupted, chairs shaking. Linda, desperate, insisted on the VY cider credential violation. Evelyn, exasperated, handed Carver an honorary resident pass. No expirations, no bread embargoes. The crowd cheered, and a barbecue broke out, dubbed Pecan Bread Day. Carver, in a cheeky gesture, gave Linda a badge. Honorary Deputy of Overreach. She pinned it on, secretly thrilled despite the mockery. As the sun set, Carver sipped tea, watching kids run wild. Linda was already plotting new rules: grill heights, flag angles. But Carver wasn't fazed. Oakridge was his town, and no clipboard-wielding zealot could change that. If Linda struck again, he'd be ready with another loaf of pecan bread and a badge to match her madness. The war was paused, but the next battle was surely rising, warm and fresh from the oven.